Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, everybody. Okay, all right. How are we all doing? Are we taking deep breaths? Are we taking care of ourselves? I'm doing my best I can. As many of you know, during the day, I also work for the state of Illinois, so I've been sort of working on the ramifications of policies that have been, erratic to say the least, and devastating in some instances when it comes to that one day that the White House, the OMB, the Office of Management and whatever Budget, released that memo saying that all funding for federal funding for programs and grants and was going to be cut off, making sure that there weren't leftists and socialists and Marxists and all that stuff. You know, the fact that it was blocked, it was reversed, and then a judge blocked the ability for them to go forward, doesn't change the fact that that day alone, there were so many people directly impacted, whether it was access to services or even online, being able to access the website functions. We talked to our friend Dan Schaefer, who said that there were some folks who weren't going to be able to get their paychecks on time. Just one day. And just one day of freezing that, and that freezing isn't even the appropriate way to say it. They were shut off. They were cut off. There was a blockade because of their ideology. And I was listening to Joan's show, and she was discussing the top of the hour news. I don't know if it's still playing on the AP when I guess Donald went to these prayer meetings, and he was saying how you can't be happy without religion. We're going to have this. I guess we're going to have some sort of a czar for religion. I don't know. I can't remember how he phrased it to make sure that people who are Christian aren't being discriminated against. Okay. It's a bit. So what are the things that are jumping out for you right now? Because I am just really trying to grab at all the things that I can address as far as my day job. Like today, I've been writing about the implications if we lose the Department of Education, and there are people who say that that it's mired in bureaucracy and all these things, but really the end game is to funnel the money that is being used to support. And it's not the majority, as most of you know, the majority of funding for public schools comes from the states, and it comes from property taxes. We already are doing a crap job of funding education in the sense that it's disproportionately impacting communities that can't handle the loss of resources. People we see the climb in property taxes, and there should be a different model for funding education. However, taking away that funding, it's not just about the funding; it's also the protections for students with disabilities. There is a federal mandate to have programs in place to make sure that individuals who have intellectual or physical disabilities have an individualized education program or plan. And eliminating the Department of Education puts a lot of people at risk. And it's because it's not just the students that receive the services or the planning. It doesn't just affect those families. It affects communities. There's also the threat to teachers' pay. There's threats to student loans, the ability to fund higher education. This is a way to, look, they have been trying to do this for decades. They've been trying to destabilize our public education system because they don't want people educated. Don't forget, Trump said this himself. He said, "I love the poorly educated." He wants people to be dumb and be distracted so they can pick our pockets, like sticking Elon in the treasury and plugging in his own programming so that they can fleece us. So at any rate, what's on your minds today? Hey, Jim, how you doing today for the Jim Wellness Check? You check up on me and I'll check up on you.
Yeah, well, I now I know what it is to get waterboarded at Guantanamo, because every day is a waterboarding by this lunatic.
Oh, God.
But, Patty, think of this now. They relied on the Christian national right, wherever they are, they don't have a Christian bone in their body. There's no generosity in their being, no altruism at all. You never hear anything of altruism or generosity, which is I was raised as a kid in Catholic school. That was our number one priority, was generosity. My mother was heroically generous. If you had two coats and somebody was walking on the street and you needed a coat, you didn't give it to them, she'd throw you out of the house. I mean, you had to share everything in my house. But anyway, they don't even understand that. They have no idea. But what is really nuts, they have the Republicans coming on and trying to explain Trump's insane behavior. And what about what's with the cameras? I mean, the man has lived off the cameras since that's how he made his dough, was getting publicity. And now he thinks he's on camera 24 hours a day. This crazy thing with Netanyahu, he's standing there with that crazy look on his face, like, who was the dictator in Italy that started out for 20 years? What was his name? I can't even think of his name. What was his name? The Italian dictator, the fascist dictator of Italy. Yeah, Mussolini. That expression on his face, like, "Ooh, I got this all under control." I mean, how dumb what happened to? First of all, a Marxist. Let's think of that. You got Karl Marx, who wrote this in the early part of in the 19th century, about 1850. He got 3 volumes of Das Kapital, and nobody, no Republican, I would defy any Republican to even, if they opened the book, to read it. Mm-hmm. But yet we're Marxists. They have no idea what Marxism is.
Know. Yeah.
And we're this enemy of the state, and I think about these poor people that are being affected, like you said, with Ronner. It brings back the Ronner, that crazy nut governor, who was willing to sacrifice anybody.
Yeah.
For what? So he could get another home? He had 5 homes. He had 1 foot in one home and 1 in the other.
Well, he's retired to Italy now, by the way, and his villa, he's got a villa in Italy. And here's the thing about Governor Rauner, right, was that he had tremendous amount of investments in senior care facilities, right, or other kinds of care facilities. And during his administration, a lot of people, I know one woman in particular personally, who worked so hard to try to make sure her daughter could stay home with her while she worked. They cut all of her respite care and support services, and she had to have her daughter institutionalized so that people like him could profit off of those private institutions.
He was a bloodsucker. He was a bloodsucker. And think of this Palestinian situation. You got Adelson, the wife of another bloodsucker who made all of his money from gamblers, Chinese gamblers, that probably committed suicide after they lost their dough. And she gave him $100 million. And she said, "We want Palestine to be a part in that."
Yeah,
and he's got the Zionists in there, and it's just. And wait a minute, I mean the Jewish religion. I mean, look at the 5th commandment that was given to Moses: "Thou shalt not kill." Wow. Apparently, they ignore that completely and go on their merry way of killing people, but. This is like waterboarding every day, Patty. I didn't even know what to say. I can't look at the news. I can't even listen to the radio anymore because everybody is. Well,
we're going to take a break. We're going to take a break from it in the 6 o'clock hour. We're going to talk about film. I mean, we'll still talk about the impacts of what's happening and what it means to be a storyteller.
No, I know,
and
dear.
films.
I know, dear, but still, Patty.
I know.
I mean, this is almost too much. This is almost too much to take. I mean,
deep breaths. I feel like I need to play a little of this for you.
Deep breaths. Yeah. If the gas was on, I'd take one.
No, stop. Please don't talk about that.
I just did, but. Anyway, Patty, this is too much.
I'll tip one back for you tonight and cheers you, okay?
Please, right. Make it a double, Patty. Make it a double.
You can bet on that. All right, thanks, my friend. Should I play like meditation music for when I'm going to tell you some of the things that have happened so far? A listener just texted, do you think that Trump and Elon Musk will end Social Security payments and the Medicare insurance? Right. So here, the thing is, I don't know if he will. Whether or not I think he will. I do know that he can, and that's enough. That they can. Musk could illegally withhold payments to a number of essential programs such as Social Security, tax refunds, veterans benefits, disability checks, and salaries for essential government workers. That's what he can do right now. And by the way, if you didn't hear the news, the Department of Justice is suing the state of Illinois over sanctuary city, Illinois and Cook County over sanctuary city immigration policies, which have been here for decades. So I really should have gone to law school, Lady B. So I could say, so why wasn't this a problem in the 80s? The sanctuary city status has been here since Harold Washington was mayor in the 1980s. So just like the diversity, equity, and inclusion programs that were in place under Donald Trump. So it was just because you ran on this. This is what fires up the base, and you want to keep talking about it. Okay, let's take a break here, and I'll take your phone calls when we come back on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal. We're happy that you're here.
You know that you can listen to Chicago's Progressive Talk on WCPT AM 820. Stream us live at WCPT820.com and on the TuneIn Radio app. Or you can ask Alexa, Siri, or Google to play WCPT from TuneIn. But now you have another option. We're simulcasting our programming overnights, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on WSBC AM 1240 for a clearer reception in and around the city. Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820. And now overnights on WSBC 1240 AM, where facts matter.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's Progressive Talk from TuneIn.
Union Strong Chicago continues to lead the way with progressive values and in preserving democracy. Your support of the Minocqua Brewing Company Super PAC efforts in Wisconsin and beyond strengthens the fight against MAGA Republicans. You can now purchase progressive beers like Labor Lager, Love Wins Fruited Sour, and the Resistance IPA in Chicago at Rogers Park Provisions, Diversity Beer, Wine, and Spirits in Lakeview, Park West Liquor, Wine, and Beer in Lincoln Park, Logan Square Liquors, and Tip Top Food and Liquors in Westtown. Visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com for all their Chicagoland locations. As always, no matter how bad our sports teams are, please drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I was talking a little bit earlier about the research I've been doing in regards to the implications of the elimination of the Department of Education. A special ed teacher just messaged me as a SPED teacher. I can tell you that Catholic schools don't enroll students with disabilities. Plus, if they need to be evaluated, they take them to the local public school that pays for the professional evaluations. There is no charity there. They're not. This is something that when I was in Springfield in 2015, there was a Republican who told me point blank that his goal was to eliminate all funding for support services for kids with autism, for special education, that it should all be done by charitable organizations, which should include churches. And the fact that churches have they're tax exempt and then don't provide. I mean, that's something that has never had teeth, is that separation of church and state. It has, and I don't know how we fix that either. Let's get to Mike. Hey, Mike, how are you doing today?
Hey, Patty, doing good. How are you?
I'm all right. You know what? I know. I'm okay. Is I think the best I'm going to be able to do day to day. I'm okay.
That's how we're doing. Take it day by day.
Yep.
The reason I called was you were talking about the Christian office in the White House that's being formed, and I wanted to try and shed some light on what I think's going on and what a bunch of people that I talk with think's going on. And we think it's the Seven Mountains Mandate and dominionism. I don't know if you're familiar with the Seven Mountains.
I'm not, but go ahead and explain it to me.
Okay, so the Seven Mountains is a Christian theory that there's 7 pillars that basically make up the influence on thought in society, and they have to do with family, religion, education, media, arts and entertainment, business, and government. And it's all controlled by quote-unquote believers. So I think what they're doing is they're pushing this crazy Seven Mountains mandate of where they're going to try and take over these 7 things and influence thought. This would explain why they've collected the social media billionaires. This would also explain why they're collecting Hollywood celebrities who are on their side. They're going to try and take over entertainment and influence entertainment as hard as they can. And if you go and read up on this more and more, you're going to start to see that this is their motivations ultimately. And it's getting scary. I mean, you got the hard right guy in Pennsylvania. I can't think of what his name is, but they say he's an NAR guy, which is like I can't remember what the abbreviation stands for, but it's basically like he's a believer in this dominionism Seven Mountains thought.
Wow.
Or theory. And so this is really what, if you read into it, you're going to go, oh, this is exactly what they're doing. And then all this other stuff Trump is just distracting us with as they're, starting to implement these things for the Seven Mountains mandate.
So this is to prepare the world for Jesus' return.
Ultimately, yes,
but Jesus didn't teach. And my understanding is that Jesus didn't say like make everybody Christian. I mean, like I know I've had this conversation. My son Griffin knows the Bible far better than I do, but I mean, like Jesus taught people to go when to pray. You go into your room, close the door. Not to be a hypocrite and be flagrant about it and boast about it. That's been my understanding, but I guess that's not the way it's supposed to go.
Consider that these evangelicals aren't even really following the teachings of Christ anymore.
Exactly.
Right? Yep. So, I mean, all of that's kind of null and void at this point. They are pushing for Christian control of our country, and they're doing it with the Seven Mountains, in my opinion.
Well, I think that you hit the nail on the head. They're cloaking it in Christian control. It's entirely still about just control. So, and it's still about the money grab, like you mentioned, for the billionaires and their media platforms and things like that. Well, thank you for that.
Yes.
Thank you for that terrifying insight.
Problem.
I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, too, and thanks for doing what you do. We appreciate you.
We'll be starting every show with the Father's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Talk to you later. Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Let's see who else we got out here. Let's get to Victor. Victor's calling from Salem, Oregon. Hey, Victor, good to hear from you again. What's on your mind?
Just about everything. And,
right?
Yeah, Patty, we gotta keep our heads above water here.
I know.
It's not the 7 pillars we got to worry about. It's the 7 pillages.
Yeah.
When they steal and take away all the money that Elon Musk has shut down all these programs Donald Trump doesn't know anything about government, so he handed over the mantle to Elon Musk, and Elon Musk knows what to do. He's taken down every good policy, every what am I trying to say? Every program, every benefit for the American people, and now he wants to take away education, the Department of Education. Elon Musk has already put us in extreme national security danger by stealing all these information and data from the Treasury.
Right.
And I'm wondering why our military and the Department of Defense doesn't come out and arrest Elon Musk, because everything he's done and is doing is tearing apart our country and making us vulnerable to attack from foreign countries, even China,
right,
or definitely Russia, Iran. You name our adversaries, and they're already jumping on ship, ready to come over and take over. So I don't understand why. I know the Department of Defense, the Secretary of Defense, is now Peter Hogbreath, but I'll tell you one thing. You'll find him in a closet somewhere sucking on a bottle of vodka, because that guy doesn't know anything about anything. So, but there are still people in the Department of Defense that care about our future, our democracy, and the Constitution. I'm sure that they should plan an attack on Elon Musk's server and the people involved there, and put them away somewhere and
There's no sense of urgency to prevent Elon Musk and his henchmen from doing exactly what they're doing, which I think a lot of us believe is to hurt Americans. And someone texted the other day that we should every day we should be demanding that someone tell us, name one policy or one thing that Trump and the Republicans or MAGA have done to make your life better. Name one thing, right? And
there isn't.
No, and they want
They've
to
actually made things worse.
Yeah.
All the Americans have taken away, all the programs that help us, and they want to take away Medicaid and Medicare. The MAGA base, they depend on not only Social Security but Medicaid for their own survival and their parents' survival and.
Yeah. And all to give
one of those redneck hillbillies and take away their means of survival, and they'll be hunting you down like training a raccoon. So Elon Musk has a lot to worry about if he starts taking away these programs that really help and benefit people in poverty and needy and everything that is made to benefit the American people and protect us from the scourge of corporations and industry from poisoning our lands and our water. They've deregulated everything. Now even they've deregulated the banks. The banks have no fiduciary
obligation. Right.
Obligation, right? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anymore, and so now you can't even trust the banks.
No.
So what the hell's going on with this country, Patty?
Well, as long as we can cut programs to help all the people you talked about, and services for the elderly, the disabled, our veterans, as long as we can make those, cut those services so we can make tax cuts for the rich. That's the goal. Is to flood the wealthy with more money from our resources, from our blood, sweat, and tears, from our labor. The reason people are rich
and it has nothing to do with religion.
Yeah, nobody earns $1 billion. They take $1 billion.
Absolutely. And Elon Musk, the government, the military, they should take away Elon Musk's
his contracts,
entire fortune and give it to the people.
Well,
that's what I think.
Well, that's why they call us commies. Victor, redistributing wealth. That's why they call us commies. Thanks so much. It's good to hear from you.
I'd rather be a commie than a fascist and a Nazi. Let me tell you right now.
There's that, but they don't understand the differences. They lump all three of those things together. They have no idea. Take care, Victor. Good to hear from you.
You too, Patty.
Thank you.
Keep up the great work. We love you. And
I love you too.
All right.
All right. Talk to you later.
For now.
Ciao for now. Let's get to Myrna, who's been on hold. Myrna, what's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, I've got 4 counterpoints for all of your MAGA listeners.
Oh, boy.
DEI.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion.
It's not just for, what a lot of Republicans think is for minorities.
Nope.
This is something that covers people with autism, people with dyslexia, something so simple. Dyslexia, you see things backwards.
Yeah.
It's difficult for people to learn. These are a few people who have dyslexia or had dyslexia who would have been affected had the program been removed when they were, if it had existed and was ended when they needed it most. These are people with dyslexia. Steven Spielberg, Muhammad Ali, Albert Einstein, Richard Branson, Tom Cruise, Salma Hayek, and Walt Disney. So DEI is not just for minorities.
That's not their understanding. If they see a black person or a woman in a job that they believe should be held by a white man, then they must have been a diversity, equity, and inclusion hire.
Exactly.
Yep.
Next thing, the U.S. aid money that Mr. Scum is trying to get rid of. I guess he forgot that Ivanka Trump used $11,000 of U.S. aid money to make a video for the Trump organization. Mr. Scum himself has received over $1 million in the last year for his Starlink terminals. So I guess the two of them need to be arrested because they're thieves for using that money that he wants to get rid of. NASA, they received information telling them that they need to remove anything that has women being shown as leaders there.
Did you see that they evicted the head of the Coast Guard? She's a woman. She was fired recently, and they gave her 3 hours notice. She couldn't even get all of her belongings before she left. Yes. So, to your point, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Originally, they had given her 60 days, and then one day they said you got 3 hours. And last thing, Republicans are not understanding the roundups for immigrants. The Department of Justice is using, or Immigration is using, the catch and release program that a lot of people are against. The reason they're doing that is because they found that about 38 to 40% of the detainees are actually they're in process. They're in process. They're waiting for their hearings. They're in different steps of the procedure of getting their legal documentation.
So, and by the way, they haven't. There aren't more numbers of, undocumented individuals being rounded up than there were under Biden. It's not higher. It's just they're louder about it, and they're jackasses about it, and there are people impersonating, law enforcement in order to harass, and in one case rape a woman, another case kidnap somebody. So all right, exactly. Thank you, Marina. Appreciate it.
Sure, and all this information, you can Google it yourself, Mr. Republican who hates us. Okay.
Gotcha. Bye. Thank you, Marina. Let's go to David in San Francisco. What's on your mind, David?
Oh, thanks, Patty. A lot of the callers have been pretty much staying on the same theme, but they're not using the catchphrase that I would use. Trump wants us to use a faith-based economy.
Faith-based economy. Okay.
Yeah, whether it's the church, they want to have their apocalyptic world, or whether it's Trump taking our gold and then buying Bitcoin with it, and then creating his own kind of cyber currency, and then his wife creating a cyber currency. What's the value of any of these things if they're always going to be changing? And when he talks about deregulating, if you go to the gas station in your county or in 2 counties away or 2 states away, what's to say that they're actually giving you a solid gallon, or whether they're giving you a lesser grade but calling it another grade?
Right.
It's totally. If he wants to deregulate, he means deregulating in advertising, deregulating in actual product performance. You could ruin your car's engine just by driving into another state if they have lousy laws about the quality of gasoline. And this guy wants a faith-based economy, and the other, just kind of an attribution, they keep talking about America was founded on this. Well, they had a whole lot of what you'd call the company store, company script.
Right.
And in fact, I heard Ralph Nader give a speech about this once, and he describes that the 13 colonies were actually like 13 company stores. Each of the 13 colonies had different money. Company script, and they couldn't trade with each other. Virginia couldn't trade with Georgia. New Jersey couldn't trade with New York without going an exchange rate of their company script. And officially, all the goods had to be shipped to London in order to have a tax stamp put on it, in order to have it shipped back to be delivered. And so the company script, which the value was totally a faith-based value. Right. There were so many problems with it. And so, maybe you could work that into the common lexicon of faith-based economy.
All right. I'm going to work on that. I'll get a better understanding of it. I appreciate the insight. Thank you, David.
Sure.
Take care. And before we go to our break and are joined by our guest in a few moments, let's go to Dave. David in Geneva wants to share something. Hey, David, what's on your mind?
Hi, Patty. With all this DEI, getting rid of DEI, well, that means they have to get rid of Clarence Thomas. Why don't they just fire him?
But it's because he gets accused of only being there. That's his whole rage cycle, right? Is that he felt that too many people looked at him as though he was an affirmative action hire, so he decided to destroy it. So that it's just I can't. Yeah, it's such a vicious cycle. Yeah. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But the reason that Biden and all the Democrats, in the Capitol decided to choose him over the testimony of Anita Hill was because they didn't want to come across as though they were being racist. It's such a okay.
I know.
Yeah.
It's absurd. It's just it's disgusting, actually.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's the way it was. Where we are now is a completely different universe.
Absolutely.
And so the other thing is Trump doesn't have any morals. He has no scruples. No. He's only transactional. He will do whatever somebody wants.
Yep.
As long as they give him something.
Yeah, he used to be pro-abortion. He used to, if they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. They don't care.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I said, and they don't have spines, and it's just, I don't know. We got to keep up. We got to keep it up, and
keep banging that drum.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you.
Well, you have a good evening.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye
bye.
Thank you. Bye bye. Coming up in just a moment, we'll talk to Reid McCollum, chair of the Democratic Party of DuPage. They have an event coming up this weekend that you should know about. More in a moment on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
WCPT 820, Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter.
Oh, that's my turn. You know what? I lost track of where we were because I was running long, and I want to make sure we get to our guest who's been on hold for a little bit. I apologize. Reid McCollum joins us from the DuPage County Dems. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing really well, Patty. How are you?
As the chair of the DuPage County Dems, do you find that you have to come? You know what? I'm gonna be optimistic because I can only say I'm okay to people. I'm just okay. That's all I got for folks.
Yeah, we're grading on a curve anymore, I think.
I think so, too. I mean, so what are you hearing from folks? Because we have got to keep, each other motivated, invested. I get wanting to check out, maybe, take some time. I traveled a little bit. I didn't want to be here covering the inauguration and having to, basically weather the onslaught, the flood of insanity. I wanted to set my own pace. How are you managing this?
Well, I'd say a lot of folks out here are afraid. I mean, we've had ICE raiding communities, including bus stops where students are getting on their bus to go to school. People are pissed and ready to resist, and that is good because we've all had a chance to sort of process and be in denial, but we have to have the discipline to stand up and fight for folks in our community.
We had a psychologist on earlier this week, Dr. Susana Flores, and she talked about radical acceptance. And it's deciding, making the choice that, okay, this is the situation I'm in, right? Without judgment of the thing, but then operating from that moment of now what do I do? And it's hard to get there for a lot of us. And I'm glad to hear that. Are you getting ready for, do you have elections coming up? I believe you do in April, right? Some school board, library board, those kinds of seats?
Yeah, I mean, all of Illinois on April 1st has really important local elections. So local government, municipal townships that we have in the collar counties and much of the state. And then, school boards, library boards, park districts. There are extremists. And, this is really the time to build the bench for folks that can represent us in office.
Do you have is it still time for people to file, or people already have gotten their petitions and their signatures together?
Yeah, no, it is clear who's on the ballot, and that wrapped up in the fall. So we kind of have a sense of the lay of the land across the just a couple hundred races just in DuPage County alone.
Wow.
A lot of candidates that need support.
Excellent. And I know that, as you mentioned, it's important to make sure that we are paying attention to these races because, as we learned over the last few years, a lot of us were sort of, letting things go on autopilot, figuring, well, the school board meetings, people will show up and there'll be fundraisers. It was the attack on books, on our students who, are trans. It's important to be in all places and not let those cede to those who want to control other people's lives, but rather protect people's rights, right?
Yeah, and local government really is the first line of defense, and is people are being attacked in our community, from mental health, senior services, a lot of nonprofit organizations that sort of get support from county government. People in our community are under threat, and it is the local government. Even more than the state government, that is fighting back to protect people in specific communities, and that's really the thing that people need to understand is how important it is. If you think about ICE coming to schools, it is school boards that work with the administration to make sure that their policies are in place to make sure teachers know exactly what to do in tough situations.
Yeah, I agree. We saw what happened in Chicago, and we still haven't learned more about the. Initially, there was an outrage that law enforcement, that ICE had shown up at a school demanding demanding entrance, and then we learned that it was Secret Service. So there was I don't know if you followed this story because it's in Chicago, but we've never learned more about that, and that's happening all over the country. Whether it's what's exacerbating that is the actual threat, as you mentioned. People being afraid. Whether it's at a bus stop or at work or at a grocery store or at schools, and then you have people impersonating law enforcement. You guys haven't had any issues with that because it does seem like people are emboldened, aren't they?
Yeah, we haven't had any issues with impersonation, but what was clear last week to me is how difficult it really is to get the facts, and that's similar to what happened, what you just referenced, where I think it was actually the Secret Service that was investigating something, but that just shows sort of the state of fear that we have in our communities. We had an incident in Bensonville in DuPage County last Tuesday where, and this is confirmed, ICE picked up at least 4 individuals from one area, and it took local members of government to get there and really just canvass the neighborhood and talk to people that witnessed it, because this isn't some situation where there's a notice that goes to local government or an agency. It just as awful as it is when Medicaid funding was cut off, there was a paper trail and people were aware at specific agencies and levels of government as to what was happening. In this situation, ICE obviously doesn't tell anybody. That's the whole point. People disappear, and it's up to community members and organizations to find out who knows what happened.
Yeah.
So that they can get information on where those loved ones are. And it highlights how powerless we are, but that's the role of allies to be involved and do everything we can to make sure people know their rights. So that's happening in Chicago, and it's also happening in places like DuPage County.
And my understanding is that the numbers of people who are being either turned back or are being apprehended, the numbers aren't higher under Biden. They're crueler, and they're simply broadcast, and then, they're bloating about it and gloating, I guess is the better way to put it. But, this is the pain is the point, is what we're seeing. And we knew that before. It's not, right. I'm just saying what we already know. So I know that you have some events, like even tonight. If I'd known about this, I should reach out to Go Brewing. I know that there is right now a kickoff campaign party for Mark Walensky, who what is he running for?
Yeah, Mark is a candidate for District 203 School Board in the Naperville area, and Mark is fantastic. There's a lot of good values-aligned candidates running in that district, we also have some township trustees. There's one, Christiane in Wayne Township tonight. So pretty much across all of DuPage County, we have so many amazing candidates, whether they're running for Democratic slate positions with township government or nonpartisan races. The Republicans out here are doing everything they can to prevent people from getting on the ballot. We still, you mentioned, you asked if everything was resolved. We just, there's a lawsuit going on right now in York Township where it's galling. The Republican clerk of York Township decided not to certify the supervisor candidate on the Democratic side. There was no objection, so it's actually the taxpayers of York Township that are having to foot the bill for their partisan attempt to not have to face an election with voters on April 1st, and we're not going to let them get away with it.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They can't win fairly, so they've got to do everything they can, and then accuse everyone else of rigging things, right?
Yeah, and the taxpayers foot the bill.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
Perfect.
Now, you have an event coming up this Saturday, a volunteer expo. And for folks who are interested, if you live in DuPage County, as I mentioned this event tonight, if you're in the area, you can stop by Go Brewing. They make the best, you guys, the best non-alcoholic beer I have ever had in my life. I actually have a subscription. So just want to put that out there. And tonight, the event for Mark Walensky is at Go Brewing. And on Saturday, you have a volunteer expo. Tell us a little bit about this event.
A volunteer expo, really you can think of it as a resistance fair. Nice. We'll have 36 organizations, including WCPT and Patti Vasquez, I believe, and organizations like we have Casa Michoacan, who does great immigration work to protect folks in our community, the NAACP of DuPage, Illinois Environmental Council, Moms Demand Action, Planned Parenthood, our Democratic AAPI caucus of Will and DuPage counties, World Relief, and then a bunch of Democratic candidates and Democratic organizations like Indivisible, and the Democratic Women, and all of our 9 Democratic Township organizations. So it's really designed to be a way for the hundreds of people that are looking for something to do to plug in and find a way to volunteer, to get on the list of some of these great organizations, or to support local Democratic candidates for our April 1st elections.
There's a listener who just texted into the show that they live in the Lombard, York Township area. Is your website the best place for them to go to find out about the candidates running in their neck of the woods?
Yeah, the best thing to do is go to DuPageDemocrats.com, and you can subscribe to our newsletter, and we put out every week a newsletter that has all kinds of information about candidate events, the township Democratic meetings that happen monthly. York's was just last night, and to learn how to support some of these candidates. That'd be fantastic. We had a bunch of new people come last night to that township meeting, and we've been seeing people come that have never been to meetings before, which is a great sign.
I think that's a great idea. Coming to those events, is empowering, right? You know that you're not alone. I remember during the Muslim ban, my son was only, he would have been about 14 when Trump won the first time. And he was absolutely devastated. And it wasn't until we went to the protests at O'Hare Airport that he realized how many people were engaged. And I know that we keep having to show up, folks. I know whether it was for protests then and, all the rallies, the Women's March, and now it's, calling your legislative, all the different things. I know that it's a lot, but we have to keep showing up because it's not just now. Reid, I've been talking to folks about how it's this. It's not just the next 4 years. They have been strategizing. I mean, I don't know that we have our own, liberal Heritage Foundation or Federalist Society, but a Rupert Murdoch who's going to buy up all kinds of media. But I do think that we need to have our own Project 2028. We do need to say what our ideals are. What is our vision of what this experiment in democracy should be? Don't you think?
Absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of people have sort of this narrative. It's mostly in the media, but where are the Democrats? What are the message? And it really, because we don't have a multi-billion-dollar funded propaganda machine, it's us. That is the importance of getting involved locally, because we have to be loud. We have to be constant. We know our message. We know what our values are. We know who we're fighting for. We're fighting for regular people, Americans, not the oligarchs and the billionaires. Yeah. And it is absolutely because we don't have, the oligarchs and the billionaires funding the propaganda. It's up to us. We, as regular people, are the mouthpiece of our values, and we're in the fight.
Yeah, it's so frustrating that they have hijacked, right? That the billionaires manipulate the message to make it sound as though they were for the working class people, when in reality, they are there to diminish the earning power, the safety of workers, everything that it means to want to feel safe in your home, provide for your family, and contribute to your community. They've rigged it so it's entirely to flood the wealth to them, and yeah, we've got a lot of work to do.
Giving the richest man in the world access to every taxpayer's voter data you couldn't write that in fiction and have people believe it.
Yeah, it's
what about our emails, right?
Yeah, exactly. By the way, someone corrected me on the Go Brewing, that they do have 0.5% alcohol. So for anybody who needs to make sure that they're safe, but Costco is carrying Go Brewing. So congratulations to Go Brewing. That's fantastic, and I'm glad that that's the location of one of your events tonight. Again, we've been talking to Reid McCollum, chair of the DuPage Dems, the Democratic Party of DuPage. The website is DuPageDemocrats.com, and we look forward to collaborating with you, with talking to you regularly, and making sure people are informed and invested. I know we have at least one candidate that we've talked to, and maybe we'll get her back on, Kim Geezer, who is running for library board in one of the areas. So send some candidates our way. We'd love to interview folks that you would like to make sure our audience is familiar with.
Yeah, and make sure folks know, this expo that we talked about this Saturday. It's in the morning from 10 a.m. until noon at the College of DuPage in their Student Resources Center, which is in Glen Ellen. So people can find that information and RSVP on our website at DuPageDemocrats.com, but otherwise they can just come on over to COD, the Student Resources Center, at around 10 a.m.
Excellent. I'll see you on Saturday, my friend.
Sounds great. Looking forward to it, Patty. Thanks so much.
Take care. Have a good night. Be safe. Go get them.
You too.
Thank you. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation when we come back. If you've been waiting to call, the number is 773-763-9278. That's 773-763-9278. Coming up at 6, we're going to talk to Rebecca Martin-Fagerholm, managing editor of Cinema Femme magazine and the festival director of Cinema Femme Short Film Festival. We'll talk to her in just a little bit, and maybe Matt Fagerholm will join us in a little bit as well. All right. Yes, he will. We'll talk to you in a moment, everybody.
This is WCPT 820, where facts matter.
DuPage County continues to get out the vote and elect progressive candidates, so it's no wonder that there are now several local retailers carrying progressive beer from Minocqua Brewing Company. Be sure to grab yours from Famous Liquors in Lombard, Armanetti Beverage Mart in Roselle, Doty Liquors in Elmhurst, and Bobby's Liquor Warehouse in Carroll Stream, conveniently located next door to the DuPage County Democratic Office. A full list of Illinois locations that offer the Resistance lineup of beers posted at the top of the Patti Vasquez Show Facebook page, as well as at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. And let me give a little addendum to my little pre-recorded message from Minocqua Brewing Company. Just so you know, Minocqua Brewing Company also carries some really great non-alcoholic products. We were talking about Go Brewing a moment ago. And Minocqua Brewing Company they have orange soda and root beer. They're Rainbow Land flavors. They also have Nope Seltzer, which my friends in Racine swear by. There was one woman, we would bring cases cases of beverages for the volunteers during the campaign. And when we came in, they're like, please tell me you have Nope. Because one woman says she has like acid reflux, and she says it's the only seltzer that helps her. So check out all the products at MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. They also have like great T-shirts and baseball hats, coffee mugs. They also carry choice wine. So check out their products on MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. And I'm just catching up with some of the texts. I don't know. One listener said, "Is the Super Bowl going to be similar to the Jesse Owens and Hitler moment?" And I asked, I wasn't quite sure. He's saying that they can save us if there's a player boycott. I don't think there's enough energy behind a movement like that, especially when you consider how aggressively Trump attacked Colin Kaepernick when he, as an individual, and then several other football players followed suit. But the targets that were on their backs after that, and Colin Kaepernick's career was over because no one wanted to touch him, And I mean, Trump was basically saying, attack that guy, throw that. They calling him names and everything. And directing so much vitriol against people who were trying to speak out about the injustices in this country. So I don't think there'll be any energy. I don't know if I'm going to watch. Lady B, are you going to watch the Super Bowl? No, you're not going to watch. I don't know. I just like making the chili. I like making the chili. I like watching the commercials. But the price tag on these commercials, they're talking about like $8 million on the amount of money that's spent on, this kind of stuff, whether it's the Super Bowl or campaigning at the high level and even at the lower level. I mean, the amount of money spent on all of these races now is crazy. My husband today was mentioning that he wishes that there had been something done before it was too late. I mean, I think that's true in every regard in this country, that a lot of people saw it coming, whether it was healthcare and campaign finance, right? That if candidates could only spend, I don't know what the number would be, but if you all could only spend the same amount of money and it was limited, you couldn't have, People's United was game over. The billionaires hijacked this country by making sure that they were, cuddling up with Sam Alito and Clarence Thomas and just directing this country. And what was the other guy's name? Oh, now I can't remember the one that passed away in Texas. Antonia Scalia, right? That was the one. And there's so many things that. If you look back at some of the decisions, I know that our friend from Fix the Court that we spoke to yesterday was talking, he takes a very bipartisan approach to covering the courts and demanding visibility, transparency. He talks about making sure that we can hear and see what is happening in our courtrooms. And the thing is that it's all been there. Like whether it's the transcripts or what the decisions were and what it was based on. I remember one time when there was an argument about the death penalty, and the facts were laid out that it's anywhere between, and they speculate, it's anywhere for the death penalty, anywhere between 2 and 11%. Because the thing is that a lot of these cases, once they've decided that they're going to prosecute somebody, prosecutors, and not all, believe me, this is like everything else. If I'm not talking about you, I'm not talking about you. But I did research on this years ago. I was working on a paper. And I was digging, and there are instances where, and they have found where prosecutors, the investigators have done everything they can to bury evidence that would have exonerated somebody, found that would have proven that they were innocent, didn't share it with the defense because they were already, on the path to prosecuting. So anywhere between 2 and 11%, and it's hard to get that exact number because this is such a huge system, that are innocent. And we have, I used to, my friend Laura worked on the Innocence Project. She actually worked on the Life After Innocence Project, and that was the project. And those were people who had been released after they were exonerated, when they were found to be not guilty, had been on death row. I talked to a guy who was on death row, was in jail. No, I don't think he was on death row, but he was in jail for 26 years. And I talked to him. I was like, how did you wake up every day? And he said, I just knew if I woke up every day, I was going to make it. Right. And she helped people get back into society, and it doesn't work out for everybody who has been in jail wrongfully. And anyway, Scalia said in the arguments, they were talking about it, and he said that 2 to 11% was an acceptable amount of innocent people being murdered to uphold the death penalty. And it's just not how my brain works. It's just not. And I guess that I come from this from a weird perspective, and believe me, not everybody in my family, I would imagine, agrees with me. My brother's murderer was executed, and I will tell you, from this side of it, it did nothing to make our lives better. I mean, maybe my dad had a moment's peace, and even then, my dad had this idea that when my brother's murderer was executed, that the killer would beg for mercy, that he would say, have regret, that he would say he was sorry to the families, that he would be afraid, like all these things. And none of that happened. And my dad still, died a man grieving his dead son as anybody would. And killing his murderer did not change that, did not improve our lives. At any rate, let me take a break here. And, we're going to change gears. I think that's a good place to go. We're going to change gears. We're going to talk about films. We're going to talk about women in film. We're going to change gears, and I think it's a good time for that. Joining us in just a moment is our friend of the show. We haven't had a chance to talk lately, but we're going to talk to our good friend from Femme Cinema. Oh, my gosh. I have to make sure I've got all my titles right here because there's a short film festival I want you to know about. Cinema Femme managing editor Rebecca Martin Fagerholm. She's also the festival director of Cinema Femme Short Film Festival. More after this on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Driving it home with Patti Vasquez, Patti Vasquez.
From global conflicts to greenhouse gases, the folks refusing to wear masks says, and politicians getting caught grabbing ass says, she's driving it home with Patti Vasquez.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us as we continue to drive it home. I'm your host, Patti Vasquez. I want to say hello to our friends listening on KTNF, AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota. And, of course, listening here on WCPT 820 Heartland Signal, broadcasting out of Chicago. I know I just popped into the conference room to grab my guests, and I realize how dark it is. And our signal gets a little bit weaker when it gets dark. So make sure you've got your TuneIn app, or you can listen on heartlandsignal.com. And that way you can stay up to date on all of our shows. Plus, if you miss any of our shows, you can always catch the podcast on heartlandsignal.com or on Amazon, Spotify, all those places. So please make sure. And we're going to be putting up the interview we did yesterday with our friend from Fix the Court. And my guess is we'll put up our interview with our good friend Rebecca Martin Fagerholm, who joins us in studio. She's the managing editor of Cinema Femme magazine and the festival director of Cinema Femme Short Film Festival. Hello, welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I got to put the right microphone.
I actually wanted to give some updates since my last time here, which I think was right before our film festival in the spring. So since then, we have become a non-for-profit.
Okay. Congratulations.
And we got our 501c3 status, which is amazing. And we actually, I have kind of a different role now, even though I'm still in charge of things overall. But we have a festival director. Her name's Emily Broderick.
Hey, Emily.
And we have a managing editor for the magazine. Her name's Anna Pattinson.
Hey, Anna.
And I am the executive director.
Hey, executive director of Cinema Femme.
Yes, and we're actually getting someone. We have a mentorship program too that we're developing with the film festival, just to connect emerging female, non-binary, and trans filmmakers with seasoned filmmakers or seasoned people in film that can really, kind of guide them emotionally. I mean, it's really tough in the industry now, but I think what we need more than ever is community and inspiration in each other. So that's kind of our focus, I would say. But yeah, a lot of exciting things happening.
Well, congratulations on the 501c3 executive director.
Yes,
excellent.
Thank you.
Of course.
Thank you so much.
And folks can visit cinemafemme.com to learn about all the work you guys are doing. Right?
Yes, that's correct. That's correct.
And you mentioned the mentorship program for women, for trans, for non-binary, for people who are right now we are in the crosshairs. Everybody I was actually when I was telling you before you came on that I was in New Orleans the day of the inauguration. I was actually standing in the World War II museum.
Wow.
There's a room with the pictures of the axis of evil, Hitler and Mussolini and the Allies, as we learned that Elon Musk was giving the Hitler symbol, right, the salute.
Yeah.
And then my friend goes, "Oh, you have to see the exhibit of the women who served in the military during World War II." Right? And only it wasn't there. She was devastated because it was only, of course, a temporary exhibit.
Oh, man.
That had been replaced by the Tuskegee Airmen, which will also now be a temporary exhibit, which were the two programs that were eliminated, right, briefly. But I wanted to talk to you about how important right now, then in our lifetimes, really, it is to tell the stories and from our points of view, right?
I really do feel like storytelling is really powerful. I was just at Sundance Film Festival a couple weeks ago, and there was a panel focused on reproductive rights, and all of these different organizations got together and we're talking about how storytelling is so powerful. And there's actually a short film, I hope I get it right, it's called Red, White, and Blue, about a woman in, I believe, Missouri who wants to get an abortion, and she doesn't have the money to travel and all that. And it's a very powerful thing seeing people that are going through hard things. And I feel like that storytelling and community building is really what's going to help us at this time. So, yeah.
And this is an Academy Award nominee. I'm familiar with this one. You can go to redwhiteandbluefilm.com. That's redwhiteandbluefilm.com, and you can watch the film there. You can also support the work, and that's what a lot of movie makers. There's a rental option.
Yes.
You can watch a trailer, and I really encourage folks to check that out. All the films.
Yeah, it's so powerful, and I think, Sundance was just, it was a breath of fresh air because all these people were coming to see these films and have discussions, and it was just a time where people could come together and celebrate impact. They had a lot of events. They had a whole area with producers, impact producers, people who were directing documentaries and talking about the impact that they hope to make with their films. So, and there was one film, I'll just bring this up, it is called April, and it was about, it was a film based out of Georgia about a woman who does abortions secretly because it's against the law there in the whole country, and she goes into these villages and does these abortions, and you just watch all of these experiences, and it was such a powerful film. It wasn't a documentary, but it's loosely based on a lot of things that are going on there. So, yeah.
Well, one of the things that I've learned recently, and I've written about this too, is that there are some of the states that have the most excruciating bans and what they're doing to women's bodies. They're eliminating their mortality boards. Like, they're not reporting when a pregnant woman has died.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to have any they don't want people to know. They're hiding the bodies.
Right.
I'm just sorry, I didn't mean to put it that way, but that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
So the more we have people telling these stories, I think that hopefully people will open their eyes. And we'll talk about this a little bit more later about films that have had and not just films, but storytelling. I was mentioning before you came in, like, when you think about Harriet Beecher Stowe's Uncle Tom's Cabin had an impact for abolitionists, whether or what's the one with the slaughterhouses in Upton Sinclair's The Jungle.
Okay, yes, that's right.
Right. I mean, like, it's shown a light on a life that people don't understand. That's what storytelling is.
Yes, and something I'm really excited about is we have started a print and digital quarterly magazine, and it's available on digital now, and we're going to make it into a print magazine at the end of the month. And it's all about horror, like female, non-binary, trans directors that make horror films, and it's all very timely. And our cover story is based on Tina Romero, who's the daughter of George Romero, the zombie film director. She's having her feature debut, which is a zombie film called Queens of the Dead. And I talked to her and her whole team, and it's just, I'm so excited for this film to come out because it's about a queer community in New York, and it's like this club scene, but the zombies come from this, and it's supposed to be a comedy, kind of like, she said it was more of like a joyful zombie film in comparison to the kind of films that her father did.
Yeah.
Like, there's glitter blood, that's going to be a thing, and bright colors, but I'm so excited for this film. It's going to come out later in the year. theater, but I got to talk to the director, the producers, the costume designer, the makeup artist, the casting director, and it was just really cool to just talk about like how their film came together, an indie film on such a tight budget, and how they made these zombies like amazing. And honestly, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm so excited to see it because they were still in post-production when I talked to them. But that's our cover story. And then we have essays written about various like horror films. The First Omen, which was last year, which was pretty terrifying, but it was a female director.
Here's the thing about horror movies. I love that this is your the theme of the next magazine. Again, folks can go to cinemafemme.com. That's cinemafemme.com. And I was. It's funny that we're talking about this because when I went to Los Angeles, I was I had a facial because I needed to relax. But my facialist and I, esthetician, and I were talking, and I had gone to my friend's place. I had the whole house to myself, which is crazy to watch horror movies by yourself. In a huge house that you're not familiar with.
Right.
And I loved I don't know what it was. And she said she thinks that women are drawn to horror films because it validates all of the fears about how vulnerable we are. And I was like, I didn't thought, is that something you thought? I mean, is that a theme that's come up with some of the folks that you've talked to or your sense of it?
It's a cathartic thing, seeing, our rage on the screen. The Babadook is a film that came out years ago, directed by Jennifer Kent. We did not write an essay about this film, but that one always stays with me because it's about a woman who's dealing with depression and just how that metamorphoses into this scary individual. And it's terrifying, but it's also creative in a different way of telling about an experience, a female experience. So I always think of that film, but yeah, I just feel like we're all feeling a little scared right now, and just to put it on the screen is therapeutic in a way, which sounds really weird, but it brings us together in a way.
And zombie movies are, because I never, ever liked zombie movies, not at all, not even a little bit. I didn't, and then we watched, which one is the original? Is that her dad's?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my God.
Night of the Living Dead.
It starts in the cemetery.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
So I had seen some of, and I'd seen the remake. I think that's in a mall or whatever. But so we watched that because every Halloween we spend October watching as many horror movies as we can, and we watched that one. And I'll tell you, I mean, I got it. That it's not the monsters. It's how we become monsters to each other.
Yes.
And I didn't know that. And so I've become obsessed.
It's such a powerful film, and I wish I had my IMDb up, but the main guy, he's a black man.
Yes.
And everybody else is white, and it's just he's the one who's surviving. He's the one who's taking action, whereas everybody else is really afraid. And his name's Dwayne Jones.
Okay.
But yeah, like I think Tina Romero with her film, similarly, she touches on issues of, queer people and having them be seen. And it's a film that'll connect with everyone, but it also is showing something on screen that we don't see these authentic kind of characters enough. So, yeah.
And it's interesting to me, like, for example, the show Schitt's Creek, right? When it was, I'd seen like romantic couples together and for us, this is how old I am. When I was in college, everyone was very excited about 30-something. I believe having one of the first same-sex kisses on a TV show, on a dramatic series. And I was like, okay, and so whatever. But I remember, I think it was the first time that I was so much more, because as much as I'm an ally and everything like that, I had such a crush on that relationship that they had on that show that I'd never been so invested in someone getting together as I did, and because I don't always get invested, but this was like I needed this to happen in ways that I think that's part of what that storytelling does.
Yes,
is to get you invested in the need needs and wants, the safety of others.
Yes.
That's what it's about, too.
Yes, definitely. And we actually covered some industry areas. I talked to this woman, her name's Elizabeth Woodward, and she has started her own film distribution company called Willa. And her goal is to get these independent films out that can really make impact. I don't know if you heard of the film La Cocina that came out last year. That's the kitchen, I guess, in Spanish. So,
it is.
So it's about it's actually more timely than ever right now because it's about all these undocumented workers in this kitchen and how they it takes place in Times Square in New York City and how all these workers are treated, and you just go through a day with all of them. And specifically, there's one man that is just really powerful. And again, I don't have my IMDb up, but so this is their first film that they're distributing in the U.S. So we got to talk about that and some of her other projects.
Raul Briones? Pedro?
Yes.
And Runa Mara, I love.
Yeah, she's great in it. And the cinematography is beautiful, too. It's such a gorgeous film.
I've always had a crush since Mummy, Oded Fehr, who was one of the anyway, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. This is a great cast.
Yes, it is.
And that's La Cocina that's going to be distributed here in the United States.
Yeah, well, I think it's available on streaming now. It was in the theaters in the fall. It actually was at Chicago International Film Festival, and the main actor came as well. But it's available streaming.
Excellent. All right, let's take a quick break here. We're hanging out. We're talking films, and we have a listener who wants to join the conversation too. So I don't know if it's for all of us, because we also have Matthew Fagerholm in studio, who is a writer and a movie aficionado as well. And we have Rebecca Martin Fagerholm, who is the executive director of Cinema Femme.
Yes.
Go to cinemafemme.com to subscribe to their
So you can subscribe to our digital magazine, and actually we offer membership. So if you become a member, you can get our magazine and you can get tickets to our film festival. And we're going to be at the Music Box July 10th through the 14th. And we get the big theater this year.
Congratulations!
So I'm very, very excited. So if you go on our website and go to membership, you can become a member and get the magazine and tickets to the fest and just get the inside of all our year-round events.
Excellent. I have to proceed to do that as well. All right. Let me take a break here. We'll take a call from our friend Judy when we come back on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950 Minneapolis, St. Paul, the progressive voice of Minnesota.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Hi, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine, and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
As always, still trying to find the buttons. I guess no matter how long I'm doing this, I'm like, oh, it's my turn to hit a button. Joining me in the studio is the executive director of Cinema Femme, is Rebecca Martin Fagerholm, and we have a listener who has a question for you.
Okay.
And we may bring in our friend if it's if we feel that we need more voices.
Yeah.
Because we'll talk about we'll just tease people who else is in the studio. Hey, Judy, what's on your mind?
Hi, Betty. I was hoping that Rebecca, what a lovely name. That's my daughter-in-law's name.
It's my niece's name, too, Rebecca.
I actually can't hear the question.
Oh no. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if, hold on one second. Let me see your head. You know what, Judy, let me take, it's right here. See that plug right there, that quarter? See that silver tip right there? Can you, the end of that cord? Let me take a break here, and there you go. Plug that. Do you see it, Matt? Right there at the end. See that one. That one, and right
so
there,
sorry.
and boom. Let's see, Judy. Let's see if she can hear you. Go ahead, Judy.
Can't you hear me?
No, not yet. All right, let me take a break, and we'll come right back. Oh, let's see. There, no.
Oh, I gotcha.
You gotcha? All right.
Yeah.
You got me?
Yes.
All right, go
ahead.
Just so long as I don't sing. I've been looking for this very oddball movie I saw many, many years ago, but I have lists. I keep lists. And it's called By Hook or Crook. And I watched this movie, and I thought, wow, it's really interesting. And I wonder how they found the people to play these people because they were so different. And when I got to the end of the movie, I found out they were the people. They had made their own movie. It's called By Hook or Crook. The young man that is the main character is a person who is male, but did not mature. He's, like somewhere between preteen, even though he's adult. And the other one is like a hermaphrodite. And he has women's body, but he has a beard. And he's very sad. He's looking for his mother, his true mother.
I've heard of this one. I actually
have you? Oh,
yeah,
really?
I haven't
You're the
seen
only
it,
person
but
in the world I've ever asked.
No, there's a filmmaker that a actress, producer, writer that I interviewed who starred in this film called Go Fish that came out in the early 90s. It was a very independent film.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I have written after it.
Guinevere Turner is her name. And she told me about this film. She said around the time Go Fish came out, this film came out, and it was on the same level as being inclusive and radical just by showing these, people on screen and their relationships. And I think films like that are so powerful that can really connect with people. And I haven't seen it yet, but thank you for bringing it up because I'll definitely seek it out now.
Excellent.
Yes, if you seek it out, I need to find it. Because I was telling different people about it, and they said, well, do you have it? And I said, no, I've been trying to find it forever.
It seems that you can rent it on Amazon, so I don't know if that's true, but on my phone it says you can rent it on Prime or Amazon Prime.
Really?
I don't. That's what it says on my phone, so I'd have to test it out. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I want to give them my business. I'd like to just buy it.
There.
I have it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And I own it.
There you go.
That's a great idea. Thank you so much for bringing up that film.
I love it.
Well, everybody should see it. The fact that it's the actual people, it just blows you away.
Yeah. And you should see Go Fish, too, because it's about these women who are all lesbian in the early 90s in Chicago, and it's all filmed in black and white, and it's a beautiful film, and it's very, you don't, it won a prize. I think it won the jury prize at Sundance that year. I believe it was 1994 it came out, and Guinevere Turner is the writer, and she, her girlfriend at that time directed, and that's Rose Trochet, and that one I know you can find online streaming.
Well, I'll do it. We're not very, ask Patty, we're not very good at this. We're in our 80s.
Okay.
I want to see things about people who are different than I am. Mm-hmm. I know what it's like to be us. I like these things. I like chutney popcorn, and I like the wedding banquet. They're very good also, but they're more professional, more, Yeah. This one is more gritty, more real. Yes.
So good.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And you've inspired me to continue this kind of conversation when we come back, because it reminded me of some indie films in the 80s and 90s that I think were transformative and shed a light on other people's lives. Like you mentioned, Judy. Thank you so much. Good to hear from you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with the executive director of CineFem, Rebecca Martin-Fagerholm, and we'll also be joined by Matt Fagerholm, who's writer and also a movie. What would you say would movie aficionado?
I think aficionado is perfect.
Do you like that? Aficionado?
Absolutely.
I don't need to use enough. Yeah.
Patti Vasquez, super fan as well.
Stop.
We can throw that in there.
I love Patti.
Stop. I love you guys, too. So it's just such wonderful memories. Let's take a break here. We'll continue our conversation in just a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal, and KTNF AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Chicago's Progressive Talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
Hey, this is Patti Vasquez. We appreciate all our fans of Driving It Home, and your support of show sponsor Minocqua Brewing Company ensures that our important conversations continue right here on WCPT each weekday from 5 to 7 p.m. You can now find the Resistance IPA, Labor Lager, or the Resistance Pilsner beer at several Illinois locations, including Arminetti Wine and Spirits in Woodstock, Pineapple and Company in North Riverside, Lions Beverage Depot in Arlington Heights, and MP's Liquor, Wine, and Beer in North Aurora. For a full list of Chicagoland locations, please visit MinocquaBrewingCompany.com. As always, please vote and drink responsibly.
You're listening to Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you for joining us as we continue our conversation with the executive director of Cinema Femme, and we're joined by that's Rebecca Martin-Fagerholm, and Matt Fagerholm also joins us in studio. Relation, because usually people say no relation.
And you related us in March 2019. I'm just going to bring it up every time around here. We first laid eyes on one another in your studio.
Yes,
that's so wild.
March 2019.
And to be fair, Tom Hush booked both
Tom
of you.
Hush.
Right?
Thank you, Tom.
And you'd kind of become a semi-regular on my show. But just unfortunately, months before I was very publicly dismissed.
Well, we follow you wherever you go.
Oh,
so
that's very kind of you. Thank you. It was really fun. The shows that we did together that night was really a blast. You were kind enough to ask me to be a part of one of your issues. So that was really cool. So thank you again. And that's in the archives, I imagine, somewhere.
Yeah, it's still online.
Yeah.
So
excellent.
Yeah, we can definitely link that again.
Oh, yeah, please. Oh, that would be lovely.
Yeah.
And before we continue our conversation, a listener wanted to make sure they wanted the name of the film that Judy brought up, which was By Hook or By Crook. Was that the name of it?
I think so. Yeah.
We think it was By Hook or By Crook. But it triggered a memory for me because she was talking about Go Fish, and I was thinking about the late 80s and early 90s was a moment, because I was in my late teens, I was in college in the 90s, and it was really independent films like My Private Idaho.
Yes.
There was, and then this one was an Academy Award winning movie, which was The Crying Game, which was for me one of the first movies that sort of delved into this idea of trans issues that I was kind of like aware of, right? Because it was in what's that crazy, the guy who wrote The Hotel New Hampshire, but then also it's with John Lithgow plays a trans character.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I can't. But that was kind of the background for me.
Yeah.
I didn't really understand it. But that was The Crying Game.
Yeah, that was a film that you're like, whoa. And I don't even remember the whole thing, but I remember the reveal at the end, and for some reason it was such a...
I think it's like halfway through the movie, and people kept it a secret.
Yeah.
It was like when Psycho came out, like they didn't want to reveal like the twist that happens halfway through because the film was so good. They just wanted, and the characters made...
Oh my God.
Made it... I mean, there was so much dimension to them in that film.
That's so good. But to that point, for me, seeing that movie and just kind of being invested in somebody. I was mentioning this earlier about like characters on television and having that investment. There is something about storytelling that can move the needle when it comes to social issues. I mean, I don't know if you have any that come to mind for you. Like for my dad was not a very open-minded person, but when he saw Schindler's List, like he wasn't a Holocaust denier, but I don't think it sunk in for him like what the devastating toll, what the human toll was. And when a movie was over, he said, "Hey Pat, can we watch it again?" Now, nobody should have to watch Schindler's List twice, but if he asked, like he was crying. He said he missed some stuff, and it made him, and for him, it made him look back at how he had acted, like as he was a kid during World War II, and the things that he had called people, because there was this anti-Semitic. I mean, obviously in Chicago. So at any rate, what comes to mind for you, Rebecca?
Yeah, well, a couple of things, but one film that I love is Born in Flames, directed by Lizzie Borden. She also did a film called Working Girls that's more well known, but this film came out in 1982, 82, I want to say 82 or 83.
83, that's right.
83, yeah. And it's about a future that is kind of similar to our current state a little bit, but about women trying to deal with all the oppression that's going on, and Matt can speak to some of it too, but that movie I saw during the pandemic, the Criterion Collection channel, or the Criterion channel, is a great place to go for films that, are independent, that might have been overlooked during a time, but they are really it's a great channel.
There's no better curated streaming platform than the Criterion
channel. And then our friend David, who did Bad X.
Yeah, David Siv.
David Siv. Bad X came out during a couple of years ago.
Bad X, okay.
And that film is about his family. They live in Bad X, Michigan. They have a restaurant, and how they dealt with the first Trump presidency and how they were treated, and then how they kind of connected with their community around and Matt and I actually went and visited David and their family in Bad Axe, Michigan. And I actually watched that with my parents, and we kind of came together, even though we're different a little bit politically, but seeing this family that it's like the American dream story and how they deal with the oppression in their town.
The minute you connect with someone's humanity, all those divisions start to dissolve.
Yes.
And that's the great power of art. That's why Roger Ebert called it the empathy generating machine that cinema can be. And that's one of the main reasons why it's so important to Rebecca and me devoting our life to that art form, one way or the other.
Yeah,
so,
that's wonderful. The listener who wanted to know about the movie, it is by hook or by crook in 2001?
2001. I think it said Harry Dodge and Silas Howard were the directors. I have not seen it myself, but now I want to check it out, too.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Thank you, Judy.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes. And how about for you, Matt? What are some of the films that come to mind for you when it comes to being invested in ways you didn't expect on a topic that maybe you're not familiar with?
Absolutely. I mean, I'll just say this, because I know we don't have a whole lot of time here, but there are two films that came out this past year about the importance of arts programs, the importance of arts programs and how it connects people that you normally wouldn't think you would normally connect with in everyday life. One of them is called Ghostlight. It's by Kelly O'Sullivan, Alex Thompson, Keith Kupfer, Chicago's own Keith Kupfer. He and his family, Tara Mallon, Catherine Mallon Kupfer, they are an actual family in real life, a family of actors. They play a family in this movie, not actors, but Keith plays a man as a construction worker. His son dies tragically, unexpectedly, and they're all dealing with grief, and he gets involved in this community theater production of Romeo and Juliet. And he gets cast as Romeo. He's way too old for the role, but it doesn't matter because it's the spirit of the community that is, again, connecting these people, and he's able to somehow grapple with the grief and free himself from the prison of depression by doing this play. It's a phenomenal film. It's one of the best performances of the year. Keith Kupfer. I mean, the whole cast is great. His whole family's wonderful in it. The other film, which is it's like a perfect double bill, is Sing Sing. Have you heard of this film, Sing Sing? I
feel like I have.
Coleman Domingo.
It's up for 2 Oscars. Coleman Domingo for actor, and then the screenplay. This is about people in Sing Sing prison who have a theater program that helps them in their rehabilitation. And a lot of the cast, I think the majority of the cast, are actually people who were rehabilitated in this in this theater. So in a way, both films are about freeing yourself from this entrapment, one more literal than the other, but it's an amazing, someone in jail, how will I relate to that? I mean, they're humans like anyone else.
Absolutely.
And the both of these films break down those walls so beautifully. They just had a number of the people from Sing Sing put that show on that they wrote in prison. They had it on Broadway. It was off Broadway or something. Sure. They had some one night only performance in New York, but those two films are two of the best films I saw last year.
That's
easily.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And so we were talking about horror films.
Yes.
It's funny. I have, I want to say this very quickly. My son, Declan, who has been going through some physical challenges in addition to everything else, we've been doing stretch labs. And so we've been going twice a week. He just they celebrated his 50th stretch session.
Oh,
and I was very excited. But his therapist, who serves in the military, she's amazing. We love working with her, Evelyn. So we were talking about, women in the military, and I swear this comes around to what we're talking about.
No. Yeah.
It was funny because I asked her if she'd ever seen G.I. Jane. And
I still want to see G.I. Jane. I really want to see it
I
now.
will tell you, not only did I love it, I watched it while I was in labor. I'm just saying. And Viggo Mortensen's fantastic in it, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the man can wear shorts. Anyway, but I've always really loved Demi Moore.
Mm-hmm.
I just have really liked. I mean, from the minute I saw, I think it was like the St. Elmo's Fire, somewhere like in that area when I first got to know her. So I'm excited for she is nominated. Yes, for
the Substance.
She's the front runner. She's the front runner. Yeah.
And that film we write about in our issue, the winter issue, our horror issue, and I feel like that film, I told a friend that I thought it was liberating watching it, and she did not get the same feelings because it is icky, and it's Demi Moore, the premise, and Matt can help me because he's good with talking about films, but it's about a woman who turns 50 and suddenly she's losing all her opportunities that she was given as like an famous aerobics instructor. So she finds out about something called the Substance, where she can be a younger, supposedly better version of herself for like 7 days, and then she goes back to her old self for the rest of the time. And Demi Moore is just so good. She just puts like such a great physical performance, and Margaret Qualley, who plays the younger, supposedly better version of her, which could be argued. She's amazing as well. But yeah, that end, I don't even want to spoil it, but it was liberating for me to see that on screen, that end.
Yeah, wow. I mean, it's the catharsis of the frustration of what it means to be a woman in this image-driven industry where Demi Moore's in her 60s playing 50. She looks perfect. There's nothing to change there at all, but it's just about the attitude of, no, we just need the youth. We need someone in their mid-20s, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
And,
Well, and it's funny to me because time and time again, we've seen, really successful shows, movies, whatever, from people who, like, the Golden Girls are still going on with, like...
One of the best shows of all time.
I mean, I'm saying, and, like, there's a British show that my husband watches with Judi Dench where this couple comes back together. I can't remember what the name of it, but and I'm sure he'll text me any minute now. But it's a great series, but like time and time again, we've seen. And by the way, I'm on a big Liam Neeson kick, and of course, men get to get older, and like this dude's still running around throwing people off
trains.
He
and Pamela Anderson are going to do the Naked Gun reboot, which I'm a little interested in. Just with those two, those two, I'm a little interested in. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I don't know. I mean, you can't really top Leslie Nielsen.
Pamela Anderson had a comeback this past year in The Last Showgirl, where she didn't really get many dramatic roles, and she really kind of stepped into it.
Oh, it's a completely different sort of
directed by Gia Coppola. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wow. And how is The Last Showgirl?
It's good. I mean, I think it would. Matt and I saw it on a small screen on our computers. I think I would have preferred to see it on the big screen because it's very dazzly, Las Vegas with the showgirls and all the things they're wearing. But Pamela Anderson, she was good.
Just her whole story is what's so moving, really, of just the story of being just looked at as just, like a sex object. And now she's, showing her full humanity in this performance. And you have Billie Lourd in there, who's Carrie Fisher's daughter. And she said that she felt so close to her mom and her grandma, Debbie Reynolds, doing this film about someone performing in Vegas. So people are really, and Karen Shipka's wonderful in it. Jamie Lee Curtis is like you've never seen her before.
A trip.
She has like 7 different layers of bronze on her face.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But those films could definitely be put side by side. I
Absolutely.
feel. Yeah,
Absolutely.
with comeback roles.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of that, because I told my husband, I sent him a picture of these billboards all over Los Angeles. There are these massive billboards with I never can pronounce his name, but Ki Huy Kwan.
Oh yes.
Because he's got a movie coming out called Love Hurts. What a tremendous comeback story when you mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis too, and I think about Everywhere, Everything, All at Once.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, I mean
he's just been such a charismatic, wonderful performer all these years, and it's about how the industry tends to throw away people if they don't fit into a certain box.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we're talking about the Oscar nominations or anything like that, but it's like you see year after year the people who are recognized and the people who are excluded. It's just happens.
How did you
routinely.
like the Golden Globes this year? First of all, I thought Nikki Glaser did such a good job.
She did wonderful.
Wasn't that great?
So
wonderful.
good.
Yes.
She was so
absolutely
good.
just nailed it completely. And I'm hoping who is it? Chelsea Handler's doing the Critics' Choice Awards tomorrow.
Okay.
On E. We'll see how that goes.
I'm ready for her to throw down.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good.
Yeah. But I'll just say here, why a black director has never won Best Director? Still after all these years, even Spike Lee, even Steve McQueen, even when their films win. You know, when these directors win the Best Picture. Barry Jenkins, another example. Nickel Boys is one of the most acclaimed films this year. It only has nominations in Best Picture and I think Best Screenplay.
So it directed itself.
It directed itself, but I'll say this real quick. The cinematography, we want to talk about how films are empathy-generating machines. The cinematography in this film is by Jomo Frey, who's a former Ebert Fellow. He did like an Ebert scholarship. He wrote for us for a bit, formerly as part of RogerEbert.com. I got to talk with him. He's one of the best cinematographers working today, and this film is it's almost completely from the first person viewpoint, but I've never seen it done quite like this, where you're just on a train and then all of a sudden the train goes past a building and you're looking right into the eyes of the character that
that's
you are.
great.
And it's a young black man, living in a different part of the city. And you're just completely in his experience. Wow. And it just gives me chills even talking about it. And that's not nominated for cinematography because why? Because it's too good. That's why. I don't know.
It is frustrating. It's all about the glam and all the who's getting what and what swag bag. We are hanging out with Rebecca Martin Fagerholm, who is the executive director of Cinema Femme. Go to cinemafemme.com for more information. We're also joined by writer and film aficionado, Matt Fagerholm. I have a question for you when we come back, because my husband learned something the other day, and it kind of cracks me up. More in a moment on WCPT 820, Heartland Signal.
Choose Views with Richard Chew.
Roe v. Wade being snatched from us as a society. And when I say that, I'm a little upset with the guys out here. Where you at, guys? Why aren't you standing up for the women you say you respect and love and care so much about? I'm calling out men. Where are you to support women who are in need on this subject? Women need us now more than ever when it comes to this conversation of a woman's right to choose.
Richard Chew, weekday mornings at 6 on WCPT 820.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
Driving It Home with Patti Vasquez on WCPT 820.
Thank you so much for joining us as we round the turn on the way home on Driving It Home with me, Patti Vasquez. And hi to our friends listening on KTNF, AM 950, Minneapolis, St. Paul, here in Chicago on WCPT 820. Joining me in studio is the executive director of Cinema Femme, Rebecca Martin Fagerholm, and our friend, movie critic, movie writer, and movie aficionado, Matt Fagerholm. So my husband had paused on a movie one night, and I walked by and I go, oh, it's a Scarlett Pimpernel with Leslie Leslie Howard. And he was like, and Leslie Howard wasn't in the shot. Leslie Howard was like in the back corner with his hat tipped down. And he was like, how did you know that? And my husband likes old movies too. Like he loves, The Thin Man is one of his favorite series of movies. He loves The Thin Man. He always wants to watch The Thin Man. And I'm okay with it. Like, it's kind of like not what I grew up on necessarily. Like I was a Jimmy Cat, my husband, my son made me so happy last year because there was a film series at U Chicago, and he saw like a bunch of them with me, and it was just made me so happy to see like Angels with Dirty Faces, which I think is one of the great gangster movies. I think it's really good. But
that's what they kind of based. It was Angels with Filthy Souls and Home Alone. They kind of did take off on that.
Yeah, let me tell you, what do you hear? What do you see? Right. So that stuff. Do you feel like has there ever been a show like a Name That Tune but Name That Movie kind of because I could do it on a still. My husband couldn't believe it. He's like, how do you know that?
Oh, yeah.
Do you think you have that?
Oh, there are certain films.
Right?
I mean, talking about Home Alone, there was a period in my life where I could just say every single line of that movie. I could do a one-man Home Alone on stage.
He could do it.
And it would be a big hit because I have to beat myself up at the end and throw myself down the stairs or whatever. But do all the, booby traps.
For both of you, were your parents like your kind of eyes into the world of movies?
Yes.
And both.
Yes. I would say so. My mom is really into, and she's listening. Hi, Mom. Hi. She loves watching the same movies for the holidays. So we do White Christmas for Christmas. We do Groundhog's Day.
Nice.
We do, strangely enough, Brigadoon, which
really?
for St.
Good Fred Astaire movie.
St. Patrick's Day.
It's Fred Astaire, Gene Kelly.
But it's a Scottish film. But for some reason, it landed on the St. Patrick's Day. So But
may I recommend a new movie for St. Patrick's Day to your repertoire? The Quiet Man with John Wayne.
I just saw that for the first time.
One.
And Lorraine O'Hara. And that's a great one. With Barry Fitzgerald is one of
Barry Fitzgerald's one of the greats.
Oh my God.
Have you seen The Naked City where he's the detective?
Yes.
Oh, he's so good in that. He's so funny.
Mm-hmm. So may I recommend to your family The Quiet Man? I think you would like that very much. Yes. I want me things about me. I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's a Wonderful Life is the film.
Yes.
That is my family's favorite. And I mean, if I see a shot, if I see a frame, it doesn't even have to have a character and I'll know it's from that movie.
Oh gosh, yes. Mm-hmm. Have you seen Meet John Doe, which is also a
Yes.
Yes. I think that's such an unremembered movie.
It is. There's a lot that is not as well remembered now. Because he was just a string of hits, and then It's a Wonderful Life tanked at the box office, and then his career never really recovered.
It's the only one that we know.
I know.
So bizarre.
Right.
Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. That's the second.
That's a great
best
movie.
Well known. Yeah, so great.
I do love. And
we need him in Washington right now.
I know.
Let's get him out there.
Where's our buckets of letters demanding justice and well, The Graft. That was what the movie was about. Anyway, let's not get into
absolutely.
But again, I think that shows movies that can move the needle. I mean, if we think about the bigger movies, like for me, Philadelphia is another one of those movies. I was mentioning, romantic relationships between men, and there, I think that for women, what was the one with Gina Gershon and Jennifer Tilly?
Found.
That's so good.
The first Wachowski film and my favorite Wachowski film, actually.
Good. Yeah, it's your favorite. I didn't know that.
I think it's just brilliant.
I just think
it moves so quickly and it's so well paced, and you really get involved. So you're talking about getting involved in the relationships. You really get involved in what's going on there.
And again, that was a movie, and so I just think that they're, whether it's the big budget or the higher profile movies or the independent films that you talked about.
Yeah.
What was the streaming? You said that that's the best place to go for streaming movies.
Criterion Channel just does the best. I mean, curation of things, and they'll get films from all over the world. A lot of new films that come in, and then they'll tell you when it's on there. That's the problem with Netflix. You'll get some amazing stuff on Netflix, but it just goes into the feed and just scroll. You don't really know when the stuff is there,
right?
Oftentimes.
And I find there, if you like this, you like that, or it doesn't.
No. Another film I'll say real quick. Out of My Mind. It's on Disney Plus. It's about a young girl with a cerebral palsy, played by an actress with cerebral palsy. It was a film that made me sob watching it because it was done so well. It's based on a best-selling book by a woman whose own daughter has cerebral palsy, and it's very much written from experience. And I think that is one of my favorite films from last year. And that actress is up for a Critics' Choice Award. tomorrow night, and she's nominated in the same categories like Naomi Watts and like some amazing people. So I'm very Amber Seeley is the director, and Phoebe Ray Taylor is the actress.
And the name of the movie again?
Out of My Mind.
Out of My Mind.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, that's excellent. That's why we need you guys more regularly. I know
Happy
you're
to
busy.
do the recommending.
Well,
I know.
Matt's really good at remembering movies. I can tell you the whole story, but I can't necessarily remember the name of the actor. But I actually just thought of one film called Saving Face that came out in the mid-90s, directed by Alice Wu. And that was a film that kind of got overlooked that I feel like is having a comeback about two women Chinese women who meet each other, and it's based in New York, but I really enjoyed it. And Lin Chen, she's great in it, and Michelle Krusick, and then Joan Chen, Twin Peaks. Yep. plays the mother, and we could talk a little about David Lynch, too, if we have time.
I don't know if we do.
Although we don't have time.
Come back for David Lynch. I know. That's true. He just passed away. So message me when you want to, send me some dates. You can come in, and maybe we'll bring Mike Crowley on, too, and we'll talk about David Lynch, but we'll also talk about the
You
Academy
and David
Awards.
Lynch were our matchmakers. So it's really, it's you two are the reason why we're here.
All right, then. Well, I'm the reason we have to go now. I'm sorry. Go to cinemafem.com and make sure you subscribe and be a member to get those publications from cinemafem.com. Lady B, thank you so much for everything. Randy Rhodes is up next, followed by Matt McNeil. Bye, everyone.